Even Jerry Rice says that this man is the greatest of all time, which says quite a bit. 9 seasons in the National Football League, Pro Bowl, all 9, led the league in rushing 8 times, never missed a single game. One of the all-time greats in American sport history, both collegiately and professional football. Jim Brown, Hall of Famer. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you, sir.
In person. So this is a big day. I did not know this, but we found this out, that today, Jim Brown, was today's the 48th anniversary of the very day that you had a summit, a Muhammad Ali summit, with Lou Alcindor, you, and Bill Russell, all part of raising awareness in local communities back in 1967, June 4th, 67, 48 years ago today. You are here. And this is something that I know you'd like to speak on, because you're about to do something else in this regard.
Well, I'll make it simple.
Sure.
Back in those days, those were the top athletes. You know, we had about 12 of them. I can't call all their names. But the mayor of Cleveland, Carl Stokes, the first black mayor of a major city, was also a part of it. And what we wanted to do was call attention to the fact that Muhammad Ali could be telling the truth about his religious beliefs. Mm-hmm. And so we summoned him to Cleveland, summoned the top athletes, had about 5 hours with him, totally convinced that he was sincere, and then we backed him 100%. And I think that helped the government take a second look, and later on they dropped all charges.
And that was the purpose of this summit that you had?
Well, yes, that was the purpose, to say that this young man has a right to his religious beliefs, mm-hmm. and they're like conscientious objectives. So why not, you know, let him do what he's going to do? It's not illegal.
When was the first time you met Bill Russell? Because I know you're
people always ask me that,
friends.
Rich. I've always known Bill, you know, all my life, it seems. I don't know when I met him, mm-hmm. but I know that I did read an article in one of the major magazines, and I thought it was a brilliant article that he wrote. And I knew that we would be friends. And we've been friends all these years, and dear friends. I'm my partner. He's a great man.
Are you going to do another summit with him?
Yes. He doesn't know it yet.
Well, let's let him know. He might be in the Rich Eisen Show listening audience or viewing audience. I'd be honored.
He has a great mentor program, one of the best in the world. So that's a part of this whole new summit. But Mayor Baraka in New Jersey mm-hmm. is going to host it for us. And an old, tireless worker, Akila Michelle, is going to be one of our main guys from developing the community. Mm-hmm. So we'll have community people, famous people. Ray Lewis, of course, is one of our great motivators. Bill Belichick, he doesn't know that I'm going to be calling on him. So it's going to be an upbeat thing, but we have to stop the violence in these neighborhoods, because it's an epidemic now going on in the country. And it's mainly black young male youth on black young male youth. And no one's been able to do anything about it so far. So we're hoping to bring that murder rate down and to re-examine our schools from the standpoint of a quality education for all of our young people. So education and a lack of violence in our neighborhoods, and then ultimately the jobs that we have to try to create and be conscientiously creating them, because people need to work.
I'm here with Jim Brown on the Rich Eisen Show, and athletes of today, people who would be the equivalent in terms of status of you and the rest of the esteemed gentlemen we referred to. Although, you know, there's a galaxy and then there's a zip code, because there's different times. But that said, players today don't really speak out on social issues. And the ones that do run into quite a lot of flack on social media, which I know you're on as well, or at other places, basically saying, stick to sports. I watch my sports to avoid thinking about the real world. Where do you stand on this subject, Jim, certainly with the athletes of today?
Boy, you really put that well. I mean, that's brilliant the way you did that. Conscientiously, that's true. But it's always special people that step up. So when I talk about Curtis Martin, I give you a name of a conscientious young man that wants to help. When I say Ray Lewis is one of the greatest motivators in this country. He did it for the Ravens for all these years, and now he's a part of this whole movement. So I say to the young people that have the money and have the influence, you must step up. There's an epidemic. And we're going to put a situation together that you can step up and you're going to be supported by like-minded people. And there are a lot of them, a lot of young people. In fact, when you talk about the quarterback at Cleveland, Johnny, to see Johnny go into rehab and admit that he needs help is a great thing, because very few individuals who need help would ever admit it. So you have some great young people that will step up if they're given the right leadership, because a lot of them are leaders themselves. They just don't know how to really make it work when their agents and managers are telling them how to make the money.
I'm here with Jim Brown on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk about Johnny Manziel right now. One of the quarterbacks in Cleveland. There's Josh McCown sitting there, and everybody believes that it's going to be his gig to lose based on Manziel having still trouble grasping what it's like to be a professional, maybe off the field or certainly on it. Where do you stand on Johnny Manziel's viability as a future quarterback of the Cleveland Browns right now, Jim Brown?
Well, the first thing I have to do, and I think you might have to do it too, Rich, we have to realize that we didn't scout him in college and we didn't draft him. Someone drafted him, and that person is supposed to have an expertise on talent because he was drafted pretty high. So I'm going to rely upon the expertise of those people, at least until Johnny gets a chance to demonstrate whether he can do it or not. I'm pulling for him, and I recognize with his type of profile, people will pick on him, and then with his attitude, he might call some of that to bear. So, but bottom line, I think he's a nice young man. I think he has talent. And I think he needs an opportunity to prove himself.
Have you spoken to him recently?
Only saying hello. I hate to be one of the guys that's got the answer for Johnny.
There are enough of those, is essentially what you're saying. But what would you say? Now, that wouldn't mean that you have any ownership of his actions or belief system, but what would you say to Johnny Manziel, Jim?
First of all, I would encourage him, because for him to accept rehab, it's a big step. So many people out there need to take note. Go to rehab. You're not able to do it by yourself. And I would say to him, be a professional and be honest with the game. Be true to the game. Be a professional. Be true to the game. Don't take the money and run. It's not about the money. It's about the way that you dedicate yourself to performing on the field, entertaining the fans, being true to who you're supposed to be, and do that as strong as you can.
And, you know, the incident that recently happened that was discussed on the internet, social media, Mike Pettin, the coach, said it's much ado about nothing, involving a fan coming up to him and the reaction that came from Johnny and his friends. I'm sure you've been on the business end many times of fans heckling you in one way, shape, or form. How do you, as a high-profile athlete, or back in the day, or advice you'd give to Johnny now for this day, handle something like that?
Well, you said high-profile athlete. You know, they're high-profile athletes and they're high-profile individuals. Then there are guys that are just individuals. I'm just an individual. I never left the ghetto. I never left the black neighborhoods. I live with the people. And I don't use bodyguards, intimidation. I invite people to my home. I invite gangbangers to my home. I invite anyone to my home. And I share my life with them. But I don't take any mess. But when you share things with people and you care about them, you don't have to take mess.
But, I mean, not taking mess, sometimes somebody will snap a picture, someone will tell a story, and then it may not be either the truth or something that you not taking mess in private suddenly becomes a public matter, Jim.
Well, I mean, if I had to complain about that, I'd be sitting here for another 100 hours. I've been involved in all kinds of things. Maybe you've forgotten, but I'm probably one of the most controversial, at least young men, that's ever come along in sports.
Oh, I have not forgotten.
Oh, good.
No. Okay. I remember that.
So they had me doing all kinds of things. Some of them might have been true, but most of them were not true. Okay. I've never lived a perfect life. But I've always been an honest person, and I live within myself. I have a spirit that carries me, and that's the reason I don't have bodyguards when I have 400 gangsters at my home, because somehow that spirit reaches out to people and they can feel that you care about them. And most people, if you care about them, they'll respond properly.
I've got Jim Brown here in studio. We're going to take a 60-second break. I got to pay a bill. That's okay.
I hope so.
Okay. When we come back, more with Jim Brown, 844-204-RICH. If you want to ask a question of Jim, that's what we do. I try to be a man of the people in whatever way I can, Jim. Folks out there who want to call in, I'll connect you with Jim Brown. Let you into our home here back in 1 minute's time. Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show. Much is being made of next year's 50th anniversary of the Super Bowl. 10 days after that 50th anniversary, it will be the 80th birthday of my in-studio guest and the 50th anniversary of his retirement from the game at age 30, Jim Brown here on the Rich Eisen Show. Can you believe it's been that long, Jim?
Well, only when I'm walking upstairs. I used to jump.
Yeah, you used to jump up those stairs.
Yeah.
How is Muhammad Ali doing, Jim?
Well, Lonnie is a fantastic person. We just left them, and he was there as a trooper, but his health wasn't too good as far as my observation. And but he's still a trooper, and Lonnie and the people around him are dealing with him properly, I think. And he's representing well, even in the state of, the medical decline that I think he's going through.
And when somebody wants to know about Muhammad Ali, what should that person be told who never maybe saw him fight, doesn't know much about his story, but will know that he's the greatest? He's referred to as the greatest.
Short sentence?
Sure. Whatever.
He likes white people, too.
Why would you use that sentence to describe Muhammad Ali, Jim?
Because he was criticized for being a Muslim, black Muslim. The Muslims have always been criticized of not liking white people. And in so many cases, that was true. In so many cases, it wasn't true. Muhammad Ali was a Muslim. He hated the atrocities that was caused in the name of whiteness, but he did not have the attitude about good people that would make him be negative towards white people that were good, black people that were good. See, he had a category of good people. That was black, white, whoever you were. If you were a good human being, Muhammad Ali would pick it up. And so I know I'm not going to have too much time on the show, so I picked that particular sentence because very seldom do we talk about that, and very seldom do we give the white people that's fought for us in history to free us from slavery, to the Underground Railroad led by Harriet Tubman. We don't say those things. We complain about the police now, and we don't tell the whole story about the police now. One of my best friends was a policeman. Steve Adams now is one of my best friends. He's an ex-policeman. So we take the shortcut, the media shortcut, and we throw things out there without giving it a balance. So what I'm saying to you this morning is that there's a balance. Muhammad Ali was not a hater. He was a good man, but he hated slavery. He hated discrimination, and he fought his butt off to eliminate that. But on the other hand, if you came to my home and brought 100 white people, Ali would probably crack jokes all night. That's the way that it was.
Jim Brown here on the Rich Eisen Show. I'd like to take a couple phone calls, if that's okay.
Sure.
And we're going to take one from Cleveland. And this is a guy who calls in the show every now and then. Don from Cleveland, Ohio, you're on the Rich Eisen Show with Jim Brown. Don?
Hello, Rich, and thank you once again for making dreams come true.
Oh, you bet. Go for it.
Mr. Brown, sir, if I may ask one question, what was the greatest influence, or who was the greatest influence in your life on becoming the person that you became?
Thank you, Don, for the call. Jim?
Thank you so much for that call, because I'm going to do a book about that, the great people I knew. My high school coach, Ed Walsh, was the man that influenced me mostly. He was a great man, great human being. And without him, I don't think I ever would have been anything, because I had no father. My mother was struggling, and he even offered my mother to let me live with him if, you know, she wanted help. And so I'm so glad I can say that, because he's passed now, but he was a great man, Ed Walsh, my high school coach.
And when you look back, now, again, next year will be the 50th anniversary of your retirement. What were you thinking at age 30, saying, I don't want to do this anymore?
Oh, well, it wasn't a negative thing at all. It was, I saw too many champions go out the wrong way. Joe Louis, you know, come on, he was a tremendous champion, but to see him get knocked out of the ring and crawling through the ropes is not the greatest image you want to have of a champion like that. I always wanted to be bold and brazen, so in order to do that, you had to finish as MVP of the league in your last year.
And say, I'm going to go to Hollywood and make movies?
With Raquel Welch.
I have to factor that into my thinking.
They can't beat that, right? She's something else, too.
You mean, so there was no Raquel Welch in the National Football League, essentially, is what you're saying?
No, there was no Raquel Welch in National. Attitude-wise and otherwise.
I love it. Don in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, you're on the Rich Eisen Show with Jim Brown.
Hey, Mr. Eisen. I apologize if I'm a little nervous.
Go for it.
I'm talking to the great All-American midfielder from Syracuse. Mr. Brown, I have a lacrosse question for you, if you don't mind.
No, not at all. Go ahead.
Two-part question. One, what is your opinion on the sport of lacrosse? Secondly, what are your thoughts on just the expansion of the sport, especially what Bill Tierney has done out in Denver his past 6 years? I know in Harrisburg, I started 20 years ago as a player, and now as an assistant coach, the sport has just exploded. And I'll let you go with that, sir.
Well, sir, you are a part of the brotherhood. The lacrosse players around the world, we're a brotherhood. A lot of people didn't know about us for years, but we love the game. And it's a great game. Native American game, decided wars by playing a lacrosse game and still killing each other. Box lacrosse, you go on the reservation and play with the Indians. Tremendous background, played a great part in my life, and I love it. My son now is playing it, and he didn't even know I played.
No.
He didn't.
Did you tell him? Did you tell him you're pretty darn good at it? You're in the Hall of Fame for that, too?
Well, I got the stick, and I was going to try to show him, but it didn't work. I wasn't quite the same.
Dino in Rochester, New York. You're on the Rich Eisen Show with Jim Brown. Dino?
How you doing, Mr. Brown? A pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you could elaborate on your relationship with Al Davis, what your thoughts were on him. In my opinion, he's on the Mount Rushmore of the NFL. And can you elaborate on the 1983 Sports Illustrated cover when you appeared in a Raiders uniform?
Dino?
Boy, you got a good audience, man. These guys ask some questions.
They're on the ball.
Telling you.
Come on, Jim, right?
I loved Al. He was a friend of mine. He would call me to have dinner so we could talk over things. And I guess when they put him in the Hall of Fame, or they were going to put him in the Hall of Fame, he said, Jim, you know, they're messing with me now because they know if they put me in the Hall of Fame, I can't say the same things I used to say. He was a true sportsman, one of a kind, highly controversial, but I think really a good man and a very visionary person. So I have nothing but the greatest personal respect for Al and his family.
And you were wearing a Raiders jersey on the cover of Sports Illustrated?
Oh, that cover?
Yeah.
Well, see, that's why you have to think. And they were talking about me coming back. So I decided to get some publicity out of it, too. So I said, if I'm coming back, the only team that I would come back and play for would be the Raiders, because the only person that would understand it and then I could get along with would be Al Davis.
I love it. Jim Brown is here. Would you mind staying for one more second?
No, not at all.
Terrific, because I want to ask you about a current NFL topic, this Deflategate thing. I got to get your thoughts on that.
All right.
And then a quick thought on the Cavs and what it would mean to the city of Cleveland to have a championship. With Jim Brown right here when we come back on the Rich Eisen Show. And for the TV audience, I got to ask you about the Dirty Dozen. That has to happen.
That's
okay.
Good.
Very good. That's next here on the Rich Eisen Show. Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show. Jim Brown here on the program. The Dirty Dozen. When you hear that movie name, what's your recollections of being on the set shooting that movie, Jim?
I was privileged. They had one of the greatest casts of all times, led by Lee Marvin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Donald Sutherland, John Cassavetes. We'd go on and on and on, Ernest Borgnine. And it was just a tremendous experience for me. I was the rookie guy. They could have blown me off the set, but they took me under their wings and helped me, and I gave a decent performance because of that. No, really, because of that. I mean, because of all of that. And I had sense enough to recognize that if it had been other circumstances, I probably would have had a miserable performance. But Bob Aldrich was our director, and I think Bob would probably be the only director that could handle that group, because not only were they talented, they were crazy.
Off the set, off set?
Off set, on set.
Like, is there a safe for work story
well,
from the set?
I don't know. Tell Us About Us would be a good one, but I think, and Donald Sutherland also, but I better lay back. Lee Marvin had a known problem, but his soon-to-be wife made sure that he got to the set on time every day.
And that scene, though, where
that was Palimony, the first Palimony in the country, recorded in the country.
Lee Marvin.
Lee Marvin.
Palimony. That's great.
But yeah,
Love it.
that was where maybe the country finally heard the word Palimony. And that scene where you dropping the hand grenades, just running along.
Yeah,
I mean,
didn't make it.
Well, how many takes did that?
One.
So one
I had
take.
to hit that cement.
So you did it
get
one
shot and then hit the cement, and that meant scars. And so once
you got hurt?
I didn't get hurt, but I was hurting.
Pardon me. I love that. There's a difference.
Bruises hurt. You're not hurt.
What's that they say? There's a difference between being hurt and injured? Is that what they say in sports?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
You got it.
Jim Brown is here. We're back with more. One last segment with the GOAT, Jim Brown, right here on The Rich Eisen Show. The Hall of Fame running back, Jim Brown, here on The Rich Eisen Show. I'm going to hand things over quickly, just not only the fans that we just had, but Chris Brockman and Chris Law. I have a question for you. Brockman, you're a Syracuse grad. This is number 44 right here.
I am, and here he is. Mr. Brown, the university decided recently to bring back number 44 for the football program. You reportedly gave your blessing. Why is now the time to do that, and what are your thoughts on the program direction?
Well, boy, you guys, something else here. I didn't exactly give my blessings. I just didn't complain. That's two different things.
What do you mean by that?
I didn't talk to anyone before they decided to do it, so they couldn't have my blessings. But when I did get a call from an executive up there, I didn't make a fuss about it, and I told them whatever they want to do was okay with me. So it's okay with me, you know.
But if they had asked you, what would you have said? No? Because it sounds like you do have a little bit of a...
Well, you unretire something, and there has to be a commercial aspect to it. So if it's going to help the team, the school commercially, help the scholarship fund or something like that, then it's good. But for me to endorse something that takes away something from you doesn't make sense unless I did something to deserve it. It seems like a punishment to me, but I don't take it that way. But it couldn't be a positive thing unless someone explained it where all of us would see the positive aspect of it.
Interesting. I got about 5 minutes left. You want a quick
Just
one?
real quick one, obviously. Jim Brown, legend, greatest football player of all time. During the 60s, there was another man with the exact same name, James Brown, the godfather of soul. Did you ever meet James Brown?
Oh, absolutely. Apollo Theater. Loved it. James was a friend of mine. He was from Georgia. And one of the greats of all times. Danced his butt off.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to know about him?
I think we should probably leave it there.
We'll leave it there. We got some other...
Yeah. Jim Brown here on the Rich Eisen Show. Before I let you go, Deflategate, what do you think about this?
You know, I don't think about that because there's never going to be absolute proof of a conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, I don't care if the ball is 10 pounds or 12 pounds or 40 pounds or whatever. That's the one you're talking about, right?
That's the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
And I know that you're friendly with Bill Belichick, correct?
Absolutely.
And is it true that when Bill Belichick finds a player in New England, the money that he collects from the players goes to American? Is that a true story?
Oh, well, that was in the past. You know, when he was back in those particular days. He has donated to our organization. He has come to our fundraising events. He's always there if I call him. He's a great man, you know, and no one's going to ever tarnish anything as far as me understanding his greatness. He is a great man.
Well, the nickname for him is modern-day Lombardi. Would you agree with that assessment?
Well, I would have to think about it, and I don't have time on the show. But I would say that he is similar to Lombardi in their ability to be convinced, their conviction, their dedication to the game, the things that they demand of you. Yeah, they're similar in those ways, no doubt about it.
Who's the one running back on a Sunday, a Thursday night, or a Monday night current right now that you would want to watch run the rock? Which one?
Well, my guy Adrian Peterson would be the guy. He's got the heart, the attitude, and the size, speed, strength.
Have you spoken to him? Have you spoken to him lately with what's been going on with him, Jim?
No, I don't try to be a doctor for everything. Some things I get into when I have a real point of view. But in his case, it's so complicated until I just want him and his family to know that I'm his friend. And I know he's trying to do the right thing.
And I'd be remiss if I did not ask you about the city of Cleveland's basketball team that takes to the court in Northern California tonight. The 1964 Browns, the last team to deliver a major sports championship to Cleveland.
Yeah.
I've got about a minute left. What would it mean to the city of Cleveland?
It looked like that is going to come to an end. This team looked like they have the ability to do it. LeBron is a rare human being, unselfish to the T. Understand things way beyond his age. And the other players seem to understand that now. So I was worried earlier, but I think they get it. So Cleveland might be looking forward to a new champion.
What would that mean to the city?
It would mean a lot to that city because they have suffered through so many years of things they did not cause because they did their job. They came to the games, they cheered, and they were great fans. And they're known across the world as great fans. So fans in Cleveland, stay with it. LeBron, lead them to the victory, and let's forget about the '64 championship team.
Yeah.
We got enough credit already.
Yeah. Hey, Jim, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to spend so much time with us in the studio today. Truly.
Well, thank you, Rich, and your fellow cohorts here.
Okay. Hey, he's giving a shout out to the coconuts right here. That is as great a moment as those two guys have had here. And
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
It is.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I mean, seriously.
What you mean to the
suffering,
Syracuse
huh?
community, we love you.
Because the number of guests that we've had who look over there and say, "What do those two do here?" now that you've come in and said something.
We'll get the real
else.
hangout James Brown stories off the air.
Yeah, I love it.
After this.
At Jim Brown NFL 32 on Twitter. American is this man's program. Look it up. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rich.
You bet.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.